Welcome back. Let's talk a little bit more about summative assessments. So we've dealt with perhaps the short-ish answer summative assessments, which might be a few paragraphs, half a page or a page, and sometimes longer. Now let's have a look at the big ones, the ones that are actually project-based work. I know they're project-based work because it says project up there. So this will mean that one, your answers almost certainly will be multi-page answers. In some instances, they could be thousands of words. It'll depend on what the question is that's being asked. So clearly there will be a lot of work here to be done. Now, there's even a little tip here reminding you that this is a diploma level qualification, therefore your knowledge of processes and procedures and your ability to communicate them must reflect this. Okay, so we need very professional, very articulate answers, spell checked, well laid out, not just a series of dot points and things like that. Quite often you need to write these answers as if you might be sending a report to the business that you might be working for. So yeah, they must be very formal and very well written. So some little tips here on managing these somewhat larger questions. Now, this one doesn't seem large at all. There's only one point to it. What things need to be taken into consideration when allocating work and drawing up work plans? Well, once again, by the time you've reached this point, you've probably actually dealt with this question in small ways through some of your formative assessments and maybe even the summative assessments. So the answer here, maybe it will only be a page long. But when I actually have a look at this second question here, this one's a bit meatier. So, explain why it's necessary to, and then it goes through and shows a series of dot points on what you need to do. So each one of these dot points quite happily could have a page worth of answer to them. So there's going to be a bit of work here that happens. And maybe your answer will also include graphics. If it needs to, include your graphics. Now, a good way to manage this is that rather than trying to type your answers in line with the actual website itself, is to definitely start to leverage some of these upload a file. So what you would typically do is using a word processor, you type your answer up in that, save that information, and then upload that. And I'll show you how to do that later on. So when I'm typing up that information, I'm going to set a series of headings within my document to remind me what the criteria of the question was. So I have a heading that says develop KRAs and KPIs that meet organizational needs. And then I'll provide a detailed answer to explain my comprehension and my understanding of what KRAs and KPIs are. How will I know that? Because I've done all my reading and research. And I'll include that information under the heading. Then I'll go to the next heading, which might be on the next page or might be 3 pages away. And I'll put that heading down and develop and implement effective performance management systems. Explain why that's necessary. Okay, I'll find that information again from my reading, and so on and so on. So this most certainly will be a multi-page answer. And I'm afraid there's not just one project, there's 2 pages of projects. So I'm getting a bit of warning here saying I haven't saved my information, so I'm fine with that. So I'll leave this page. Oh, here's a big one. So a large scenario. So what I'll want to do here before I start to address this is copy and paste this onto a Word document and start to highlight some of the key points that I can see within that, so that I know that I'm then addressing those key points. So that's up to you to do that. So copy and paste that into a Word document and start to find some of these key terms, some of the key points of the question that you need to answer, and then start to answer it. And this will be a long answer that you're providing. And just make sure the answer you are providing is addressing the question or questions that are asked. Okay, so you need to read this carefully and read it again. Put it down, highlight areas. Draft up some answers. Don't think your first answer is going to be right. Do a first run draft of just dropping in bulk information and then read back over that, refine it, reorder it, do some more research and return. And then you'll be getting closer to the answer. So your project work in your summative assessments, yes indeed, they are big and it's a diploma, so that's how it should be.